I can't hold it in anymore, she gasped, her voice trembling under the weight of something far heavier than fear. The desert wind howled outside, rattling the wooden windows of the ranch house. Ethan, the rancher, froze mid-step, the lantern in his hand flickering shadows across his face. He didn't know whether to move closer or run. For weeks, Clara had been distant. Ever since the night she showed up at his ranch, barefoot, shivering, her dress torn, she hadn't spoken much about what really happened. Ethan didn't ask. He believed people talked when they were ready. But now, in the middle of the night, she stood in front of him, her eyes glassy, her breathing uneven, as if she was about to confess something that could change everything. What do you mean? Ethan finally asked, his voice low, careful. Clara's lips trembled. You don't understand, she whispered. They'll come for me. They always do. Ethan's hand tightened around the lantern handle. Who will? She didn't answer. Just looked out the window, toward the moonlit desert, where the shadows of the cacti stretched long and sharp like knives. He followed her gaze. Nothing. Just the silent desert night. But something about her tone, that shaking, broken fear, sent a chill down his spine. Clara, he said again, softer this time. You're safe here. Her head snapped toward him. No one's safe here, she whispered. Not anymore. Before he could respond, there was a sound, faint but distinct, a slow creak on the porch, like someone stepping on an old wooden plank. Ethan turned instantly, setting the lantern on the table. He reached for his rifle hanging on the wall. Clara grabbed his arm. Don't go out there, she pleaded. If you do, you'll never come back. Ethan looked down at her, his jaw tight. If someone's out there, I have to. He pulled free from her grasp and stepped toward the door. The air was cold, sharper than before. He opened it just a crack, enough to peek through. The porch was empty, only the wind and dust swirling in the moonlight. But something didn't feel right. The air smelled burnt, like smoke and metal. Then he heard it, whispering, faint, like the echo of a prayer carried by the wind. He shut the door quickly and turned to Clara, his heart pounding. You need to tell me what's going on. Clara backed away, shaking her head. You wouldn't believe me. Try me, he said, his tone harder than before. She looked at him for a long time, her eyes filled with tears. Ethan, what if I told you I'm not supposed to be here? He frowned. What does that mean? I shouldn't be alive, she said in a trembling whisper. They made sure of that. Ethan's mind raced. Who made sure? Her voice cracked. The men from Hollow Creek. The ones you helped bury last winter. The room fell silent. The clock ticked on the wall. Ethan's breath hitched. He remembered the 3 men he found half buried after the storm. He never told anyone except the sheriff. How do you know about that? He demanded. Clara's eyes darkened. Because I was there, Ethan. I watched them die. Ethan took a step back. That's impossible. I told you, she said, her voice breaking. I'm not supposed to be here. Outside, the wind slammed against the house again, but this time, it wasn't just the wind. There were footsteps, slow, heavy, and more than one. Ethan grabbed the rifle again, his pulse pounding in his ears. Clara, get behind me. But when he turned to look at her, she was gone. The lantern flickered violently, then went out. The last thing Ethan heard before the darkness swallowed the room was Clara's voice, faint, almost whispering, coming from somewhere behind him. Ethan, I told you they'd come. Then the sound of glass breaking, and silence. Dash dash dash. The next morning, the sun rose over the ranch like nothing had happened. The horses were calm, the desert still, but the front door was wide open. Ethan was gone, and on the kitchen table, where the lantern had been, lay a single photograph, old, worn at the edges. It showed Clara standing beside 3 men. The same men Ethan buried last winter. And scribbled at the bottom in faded ink were the words, "We told you not to dig them up." Dash dash dash. Do you think Ethan really disappeared? Or did he finally see what Clara had been running from? The sun hung low over the desert, casting long golden streaks across the empty plains. Sheriff Walter Briggs squinted as he rode up the dirt path toward Ethan's ranch. The air was still, but something about that stillness felt wrong, like the silence before a thunderstorm. He dismounted slowly, his boots crunching against the dry earth. Ethan, he called out. No answer. Only the whisper of wind through the mesquite trees. He noticed the door swaying gently on its hinges, creaking back and forth. Inside, the house was cold, as though the fire had died out days ago. Dust hung in the light beams cutting through the broken window. On the table, Walter saw it, the photograph. He frowned, picking it up between calloused fingers. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered. He recognized two of the men right away, Bill Harper and Mason Clay. The third was harder to place, but he knew he'd seen him before. Walter's eyes shifted to the writing scrawled beneath. "We told you not to dig them up." His throat tightened. He remembered the storm that winter. Ethan had sent word about finding 3 bodies buried near the creek bed. Walter came out to take a look, figured they were outlaws that got caught in the flood. They buried them properly afterward. Case closed. Except now, it wasn't. He set the photo down and stepped toward the bedroom. The sheets were untouched, the bed still made. But near the window, he saw something strange, a set of small footprints in the dust, leading toward the back door. Bare feet. Walter followed them outside, his hand resting on his revolver. The prints trailed off behind the barn, into a stretch of hard ground where they disappeared completely. But he noticed something else. Scratches on the barn door. 3 deep, parallel marks, as if made by something with claws. He swallowed hard. "Ethan, what the hell did you get yourself into?" The sheriff stepped inside the barn. It was dark and smelled of hay and rust. A few horses shuffled nervously in their stalls. One of them, Ethan's black mare, snorted and stamped her hooves like she'd seen something she didn't like. Walter raised his lantern higher. That's when he saw it, carved into the wooden wall near the back, "Help me." The letters were uneven, scratched in desperation. "Fresh. Jesus," he whispered. Behind him, something moved. He turned fast, gun drawn, but nothing. Just the swinging rope and the creak of the rafters above. Still, he felt it. The air had changed. He wasn't alone. Then came the whisper. Low, female, almost right next to his ear. "Don't look behind you." Walter spun around. Nothing there. The lantern flickered violently, the flame stretching thin, then vanishing altogether. He pulled out a match, hands trembling slightly. Struck it. Light flared again, and standing in that glow, at the far end of the barn, was a woman. Her white dress was torn, her hair tangled, her eyes wide like she hadn't slept in years. She looked straight at him, not moving, not blinking. "Ma'am," Walter said cautiously. "You all right?" She didn't answer, just took one step closer. Then another. Walter held his hand up. "Stay right there, I just need to." But before he could finish, the match blew out. The darkness swallowed everything. He felt something cold brush past his arm. Then a whisper again, closer this time. "You shouldn't have come here." He fired his revolver instinctively. The shot echoed through the barn. Horses screamed, kicking their stalls. The lantern fell and shattered on the ground, flames licking the hay. Walter ran out, coughing, his lungs burning from smoke. When he turned back, the barn was already engulfed in fire. He stood there, watching it burn. And then, through the crackling and roar of the flames, he saw her again. That same woman, Clara, standing in the doorway, untouched by the fire, staring right at him. "Ethan," she whispered, "he's still here." Walter froze. The flames reflected in her glassy eyes. Then she vanished, gone like smoke in the wind. He stumbled backward, heart pounding, and turned toward his horse. He needed to get to town, fast. But as he mounted up, he glanced one last time at the burning barn, and his blood ran cold. There, half visible through the flames, were 3 figures. Standing side by side, motionless. Watching. The same men from the photograph. And behind them, in the firelight, something else moved. Something crawling. Walter didn't wait to see what it was. He spurred his horse and rode off into the night, the ranch burning behind him like a warning beacon. As he reached the ridge, he looked back, and the entire house was gone. Not burned down, gone, like it had never been there at all. He whispered to himself, voice shaking, "What the hell did you do, Ethan?" The wind carried a faint sound in reply. A woman's voice, faint but unmistakable. "Come back, and find out." Walter whipped his head around. No one was there. Only the vast, empty desert stretching endlessly ahead. He kicked his horse harder, galloping toward town, but no matter how fast he rode, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was following close behind. That night, the sheriff didn't sleep. He couldn't, because every time he closed his eyes, he saw that photograph. And the words beneath it began to change. Now they read, "You're next." By morning, the desert looked calm again, too calm. The town of Dry Creek was just waking up when Sheriff Walter Briggs stumbled into the saloon, covered in ash and dust. His horse was gone, his gun nearly empty, and his eyes, hollow. "Sheriff," the bartender asked, pausing mid-clean of a glass. "You look like hell." Walter ignored him. He reached for the telegraph on the wall and began tapping furiously. "Need backup. Ranch fire. 2 missing. Possible homicide." But when he looked down, the wire wasn't connected. The line had been cut, clean. He turned slowly toward the room. No one was speaking now. Every man in that saloon was staring at him. And for a moment, the air grew heavy, like the whole building was holding its breath. Then one old prospector at the corner finally spoke. "You been to the Hollow Creek place, Sheriff?" Walter froze. "What do you know about it?" The man's eyes were gray and cold. "More than you'd want to. That land was cursed long before Ethan bought it." Walter stepped closer. "Talk." The man sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Back in '68, 3 brothers owned that ranch. The Clay boys, mean bastards, stole cattle, shot anyone who looked at them wrong. One night, a girl came running into town, blood all over her, said they'd tried to kill her. Before we could do anything, lightning struck their barn, burned it all down. Folks found their bodies buried after the storm. But they say that girl never made it far. Disappeared before sunrise." The sheriff's voice dropped. "Clara." The man nodded slowly. "If you saw her, Sheriff, then she ain't among the living." Walter clenched his jaw. "Ghost stories don't burn barns, old man." The prospector just looked at him with something like pity. "Then tell me why no grass ever grows there. Why the wind never stops howling through that valley. You can bury evil, son, but you can't kill it." Walter left without another word. He couldn't shake the image of Clara's face, pale, terrified, yet pleading, as if she wanted to be saved from something much worse than death. By sunset, he was back at the ruins of the ranch. The air reeked of smoke and iron. Ash crunched beneath his boots as he walked through what was left. Only the chimney still stood. And there, half buried near the stone foundation, he found it, a door handle. From the cellar, he kicked away the debris and pulled the hatch open. The hinges groaned, and a wave of cold air spilled out, colder than any desert night should ever be. Lantern in hand, he descended the wooden stairs. The deeper he went, the quieter it became, until he heard something breathing. He raised his lantern, and froze. Ethan was sitting in the corner. His face was ghostly pale, his eyes hollow, staring at nothing. Chains hung loosely from his wrists. "Ethan," Walter whispered. Ethan didn't move, didn't blink. "Ethan, it's me, the sheriff." "What happened here?" Slowly, Ethan turned his head. His lips cracked as he spoke, voice barely a rasp. "I tried to help her. Clara, she wanted peace," Ethan said, eyes unfocused. "But they wouldn't let her go. They wanted me too. Said I dug up what was buried. Now I had to take their place." "Who, Ethan? Who did this to you?" Ethan's voice dropped lower. "They're still here, Sheriff. Behind you." Walter spun around. Nothing. Only darkness and dust. When he turned back, Ethan was standing now. But something was wrong. His skin looked gray, stretched too tight. His eyes weren't eyes anymore. They were black, bottomless pits. "You should have stayed away," Ethan whispered. Walter staggered back, fumbling for his revolver. "Ethan, whatever this is, fight it." But Ethan smiled. Not kindly, not like the man he once was. "You can't fight the land. It remembers." The lantern flickered violently. And then, from the shadows, they emerged, 3 shapes, barely human. Their faces twisted with hate, their mouths whispering in unison. "You dug us up. Now you take our place." Walter fired, the gunshot echoing through the cellar. The figures didn't flinch. They came closer, their voices rising, surrounding him. He backed up, reloading, firing again. until the lantern shattered and darkness swallowed everything. In that blackness, he heard Clara's voice again. Soft, close. I told you not to come. Then silence. When the townsfolk rode out the next morning, the ranch was gone again. Nothing but scorched sand and smoke rising in thin gray lines. They found no bodies, no ashes, no signs of fire, only the photograph, lying half buried in the dust. This time, 4 figures stood in it. The 3 men, Clara, and Sheriff Walter Briggs. And beneath it, freshly written in dark ink, "The land remembers its dead." That night, a new wind blew through Dry Creek, colder than the desert had ever known. The townspeople said they heard voices on the breeze, whispering names they didn't recognize. But the barkeep swore he saw something stranger, a lantern light flickering out near Hollow Creek. He said for a moment, he saw a ranch standing there again. Whole and bright, a woman in white at the window. Then it was gone, only the echo of her voice remained, carried softly by the desert wind. You can't bury what's already waiting for you. Thank you so much for watching this story till the very end. Your support means more than words can ever say. If you felt the depth of this journey, don't forget to give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Together, we'll keep bringing powerful stories to life, and your presence here makes all the difference.